Hi, and welcome to my channel. This video will be a little different than ones I usually put out. When I say let's build one of these, I'm talking about this, the Schaefer Brewery, that's been put out by at least 4 different model making companies. And the history behind this is what started me on a fascinating journey of finding out about Mr. E.L. Moore. Mr. Moore was a writer and a model builder, and much of his history is being chronicled by James D. Lowe on blogger.com on his 30 Squares of Ontario pages. Mr. Moore wrote quite a few articles about building structures for Model Railroader and Railroad Model Craftsman magazines between the late 50s and the early 70s. His construction techniques were simple, but his designs were very elegant, and they were interesting enough that in the 70s they were being used by Pola and AHM to be put out as plastic kits. One of the items that I find very interesting is how the different companies could use basically the same plastic moldings to put out different kits by changing the box art. Mr. Moore had built Ma's Place, and AHM was the first one to pick it up, but then you see how it was also picked up by Model Power and later Tyco, and it was the same basic kit, but the signage and the box art made it look different. And it was even revised by AHM into Speedy Andrews Repair Shop with just a change of a few pieces on the kit. Now, this hardware store is something that's dear to my heart. I had built this many years ago, and this is a picture of it on one of my old layouts. But I didn't know the history of that kit. And like so many others that were based on Mr. Moore's designs, you could have the same structure put out by different companies with different names. For example, here the Gruesome Casket Company, which was based on one of his models that he wrote an article about, is put out by Pola as a machine shop. And they actually had 2 different releases of it with different box art. And they also took that front portion and released it as its own little separate building as a smaller kit. If this kind of history interests you, I suggest you go to blogger.com and look up 30 Square and some of James Lowe's writings about E.L. Moore. I found it very interesting, and I'm going to continue to dive into this. There's also a book that Mr. Lowe has made free to download, and it's worth looking through. Or you can hop over to Wikipedia, where he's put some information up there. Now, the kit we're going to be building is actually this one that Pola marketed. But except for a couple of minor changes, it's the same as the AHM one that originally came out, and the ones by Model Power and by Tyco. The Model Railroad Club that I'm a member of is a 501c3, and we accept donations to sell at train shows, where the donor then gets to write off part of their taxes. This kit came in as part of a donation. It was an open box, but there was no way to know if all the parts were inside. They were already off of the plastic sprues. So I thought we could either sell it as an open box for a couple of bucks, or I could go ahead and build it, and that way I'd know if all the parts were there or what was missing. And we could probably sell it for a fair bit more. So that's what I decided to do. I'm never going to turn down a chance to build something if I can. But one of the things I found kind of frustrating was the single sheet of instructions that came with this. It was only one-sided, It didn't have much detail, and the two images both showed the same side of the building. I had no way of knowing how some of the pieces were supposed to go on the other side. So I went online and looked for built pictures of this. Since it's been around for decades, there were quite a few of them that had been built already. And this allowed me to see what was actually supposed to go where on the other side, assuming someone had built it correctly, which I think most of them were. But they didn't all match, so I imagine other people ran into the same problem with the directions that I did. So I started by first washing and then trimming the flash off of the parts. Now, since I wasn't building this for a client or for myself, I didn't do all of the detailing work that I would have. It was mostly just to see if all the parts were there and get something that we could sell as a completed kit at the show. So I went ahead and glued the doors and windows in place and then glued the walls together. And once I had two L shapes, I used a little bit of styrene quarter round where the walls joined to make it stronger. Then I glued the walls onto the base, and I started gluing together the outbuilding walls. I put them together and glued them onto the base as well. Now the stairs for the front dock were a little bit of a challenge. This casting wasn't as good as all the rest. In fact, it had some of the release pin molds on the outside of it that would show. So I went ahead and cut those off using a razor saw. And since the stairs were leading up to a wooden dock, I decided to go ahead and use the razor saw to put in some wood grain as if they were wooden stairs leading up to it. Then I started assembling the rest of the dock portion. It had a brick wall and then a wooden dock. But I glued together the brick wall, and that would support the front of the dock, but there was nothing that supported the back of the dock. So I just went ahead and got some stripped styrene and cut a couple of pieces that were the right height. I went ahead and glued them in place, and that would give me support for the back side of the dock. Then I went ahead and glued everything in place. As I said, I'm not sure how the back of that was supposed to be supported. Next, I started putting together the chimney pieces, and there were two parts of this. The lower part that would get glued on, and then the upper part would go onto it. So I glued the lower part in place first, and I used these blocks to make sure it stayed vertical as the glue was drying. Then I started assembling the wooden structure that went around the outside of the deck portion. I think this is probably where they would hold the barrels as they were getting ready to be transported. And this was pretty simple, just gluing the pieces together. I did have some pieces left that I wasn't sure where they're going to be used. And as I said, the instructions weren't real clear. But I found out later the circular pieces were the lids for barrels that hadn't been in the box that we had received. So I used one of those as a support for where the peak of the roof would be on the deck portion. I went ahead and started gluing the roof onto the brick outbuilding. I first put one side in place and then glued the other one on. And then I went ahead and started gluing the cupola together that goes on the roof of the main building. And I also put some supports inside those to make sure it would hold together, because where you glued the surfaces there wasn't much material there. Then I went ahead and glued the roof onto the outer deck portion of the building as well. And all I had to do now was glue the chimneys and the cupola in place. But I noticed the cupola wouldn't slide down into the hole because the peak of the roof was hitting the vents. So I went ahead and notched those out so that it would sit down flush. Again, I'm not sure what they intended. The directions really don't show anything about this. But I was able to get it so it nestled all the way down, and I got the other chimneys glued in place. Then I went back to these pieces left over. I had noticed that one of the build pictures that I had seen, the foundation for the deck portion actually had supports for the feet. It was a different casting. So I said, well, if I cut these down a little bit, I can go ahead and use these as supports for the feet. And there were enough of them that once I cut them down, I was able to go all the way around the building and have supports for my legs. I don't know if that's what they were intended for, but that's what I used them for. Then I went around the chimneys and the cupola with my gallery glass to represent ceiling that I usually do. And now I had done all the basic construction, and it was time to just weather it. So I started using the artist pigments that I typically use for weathering structures. Since this was going to be a fairly old building, I went kind of heavy in some areas. I used some of my colored pigment to color one of the slate roofs a green, and I used rust colors on the metal roof. And then I put a coating of Tamiya Dull over the entire building. Since it was going to be at a train show and might get handled a fair bit, I just wanted the pigments to stay in place. And I was done with it at this point. The whole thing really only took me a few days. And like I said, I didn't spend as much time because it wasn't being built for a client or for myself. But I'm sure that it's going to bring a few more bucks than just an open box with loose parts in it would have. And I hope somebody ends up with a building that they enjoy. Maybe they can put it on their layout. I didn't put any of the brewery signs on it, so they can use it for whatever they want. And I especially enjoyed that this kit introduced me to the history of E.L. Moore and meeting the writings of James Lowe, and I'm going to pursue that more. I found it very interesting, and I hope you found this video a little interesting. I want to thank you for watching.